Hi there, Valerie Shodine here with a new feather stencil I designed for Stencil Girl products. And it just came, and there's these little tabs that you can cut them out so you have both the mask and a stencil. Okay, there. Now I'll show you a few things you can do with it. On this page, I use both the stencil and the masks, and it's really easy. First, I start, and you can see I've already been working a bit, but I use my spray bottle. I've activated my watercolors just with a spritz of water and put some of the color out on my palette here with a cosmetic sponge. And now I'm just going to go in with these sponges and just do a light tapping. The sponges aren't real wet, they're just damp with some of the color. So I think I'm using here the cobalt teal and then some yellow iron oxide, or it might even be quinacridone gold. I don't know, it's just one of those. It doesn't really matter, but it gives a nice kind of variegated look here. You can see I kind of varied it. I did more of the gold on the bottom layer, which is most of the feather on the one I just did. And on the previous one, I had done the teal first. I'm kind of sticking with three colors here. One is a gold, and then the teal, and then an indigo blue. Okay, so that's it for the stencil. Now I replace my stencil and put the mask that I cut out of the stencil back in. And now I'm going to go in, light spritz to reactivate the watercolor on my sponge, and add a little more here from my palette. And then just do that light tapping on the stencil. See how easy? I really like this look and this feature of the stencil. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that with all three and use the indigo paint. One of my most used tricks of the trade is using a clean old toothbrush and then taking the paint that's left over and spattering it on my pages. Oftentimes I get smudges and things on my pages that I wish weren't there, but the spattering really does cover up a lot, and the color tends to bring the page together. This page technique is super easy with paint sprays and the feather masks. So what I do is I just put on the masks anywhere I want to on the page. And then once they're set up, I just spray them. I'm using three colors again, just that I had on hand in the studio. You can use ink sprays, alcohol sprays. I'm just mixing some water with a little bit of paint and putting them in a little spray bottle, and then I spritz it from here. This is green gold that I'm using here. And then I'm going in with some quinacridone gold and then some ultramarine blue. I just chose those because I have those already in my studio, and it kind of goes along with my color scheme here. So I do need to let this dry. And then once it's dry, just lift off the little feather masks and voila, there's the page. I'm going to reuse these feather masks soon, so I want to get all the paint off, and I'm blotting them on a piece of deli paper here, and this can be the base for another painted paper, and I'll just add some paint to it. and blot these off here, and you'll see they kind of make their pattern there as well. So it's the start of something else. Here's a painted paper that would make a great background, or I could cut it up for something. How I made it was I took one of these feather masks, and you can see I'm spritzing my watercolor and my sponge, and I'm using the cobalt teal here as I've done on a paper that was a blotting paper. And I'm just lightly sponging this same mask over and over again so that it's kind of touching and kind of just hanging out there. So it's super easy, it's fun, and it uses up my leftovers. Now for some gel plate fun with these feather masks. Okay, now I have a 6-inch round gel plate here, and I'm arranging my feathers on there. And of course there's a lot of choices on how I could do that, or I could even use another shape of a gel press if I had one. So here I am just fiddling and putting them on there. It's kind of nice just the plain masks on the gel press, because the gel press it clings to it. And I've put out some craft paint. This is just like liquid craft paint from Michael's or something that I picked up. So I'm not using expensive materials here. Rolling it on there, pressing it down, and then lifting that off. So that gives its own print. And then what I'm doing is lifting up these stencils, and so then I'll make another print with other paint. Okay, I waited for the paint to dry on the gel press, and now I'd like to put some metallic. And this metallic, I don't know, it doesn't work that great, I have to say. So what I decided to do here, because it kind of smears across the gel press, is I'm putting some folk art cream colored craft paint on top, and I'm just going to mix that in, and I think it will work fine. Okay, now I'm just using a piece of deli paper, and I am going to rub that down and let it dry before I lift it up. Okay, it's mostly dry. I could have waited a little bit longer. And look at this beautiful print. It's kind of rustic looking. I like it. Okay, well, that about concludes my tutorial. Of course, the gel plate is addicting, so here's a few more that I did once I got done with that. And here's just a review of what we did. The gel press prints, and then the sponging of one of the stencil masks, and then the spray on top of the masks, and the stencil and the mask on paper. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Check out more tutorials and inspiration at my website and blog at ValerieShodine.com.